make sure they don't play near the pond, the frozen pond. You remember what happened last time when you were fucking shit-faced. And Veronica's like, yeah, I remember. She's like, you're an alcoholic and a wine mother. What happened to Max was horrible. She's like, I got it, Mom. I got it. The trauma is there.
Hello, and thank you for checking out the video. I just want to let you know that I not only create content on my YouTube channel, Class in the Glass, but I'm also on Twitch, where I review movies, cartoons, and TV shows live, while also playing single-player games and multiplayer games. I also have a Patreon where subscribers have access to hundreds of video and audio commentaries for films and cartoons, as well as podcasts and videocasts. In the meantime, thank you again for watching. Enjoy the video.
Here we go, my friends. So, chat, I've recently rewatched The Orphan for this particular review, and I gotta admit, before I have to let you know, when I saw this movie years ago, back in when it came out, over 10 years ago at this point, chat, 2009. I thought it was okay. I thought it was fine. Maybe I just wasn't in the right mindset. I was like, okay, cool. It's but the movie's probably best known for its crazy twist, chat. The debut, or certainly just, was the debut to, I think, a lot of mainstream audiences. Isabel Fuhrman as the character of Esther, chat. It did all those things. But I thought, it's fine. It's an okay movie. And then, recently, Orphan's come back in the pop culture zeitgeist because of the prequel sequel, Orphan First Kill, which, as you guys know, I was kind of like, oh, give me a break. I was so dismissive of that. But for good reason, I would say, at least initially, with the whole idea of the character. You have to bring back the original actress to play this character, who is, looks like a 9-year-old girl, but who is secretly a 35-year-old dwarf woman. From Estonia, Chet, who's absolutely insane, has been murdering people for decades. It was like, give me a break. The actress looks like she's in her mid-20s. That's because she actually is, chat. And I was like, this isn't going to work. And I saw the movie and I'm like, God damn it, I liked it. But it had fun. It was a little more irreverent, chat. And I was like, okay, wow, I think I like this actually more than the original movie. But the thing is, chat, after having recently rewatched it, I got to say, I was like, wow, there's a lot I actually kind of appreciate about this film. It's competently directed. I think I forget I don't know say their director's name. Jaume Colette Serra. We'll go with that, chat. They've done a lot of films of varying quality. Orphan, which I think is, in my opinion, pretty good. Doing pieces of shit like the House of Wax remake from, 15 years ago. More recently, they've done a lot of like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movies, Jungle Cruise, and which I didn't even see, and Black Adam. Which is kind of like, it's kind of appropriate that I'm reviewing this movie right now. Black Adam so quickly upon us, chat. But yeah, finally revisiting it, I had a renewed appreciation for it. It's a well shot thriller. It's got great performances from everyone in the cast. Like, no one's given a weak performance, chat, really. Obviously, Isabel Fuhrman, I think, is doing a great job. Vera Farmiga, who is always great in every movie she's in. Peter Sarsgaard's really good. You got CCH Pounder, chat. My personal, Amanda Waller, chat, voiced her in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. You got Margot Martindale, who I think is a very underrated actress. I just great cast, and they'll do a great job, chat. It's a nice, contained thriller, in my opinion, and it has a crazy fucking twist ending. And I don't know, maybe I was just in the right mood when I was watching this, and having seen the prequel. So recently that I was like, I don't know, maybe I went in with a more open mind, chat. And so, yeah, seeing this again, I actually dug the hell out of it. But, just kind of my general opinions before we jump into the spoiler review itself, the nitty-gritty details, the scene by scene breakdown. What about you guys? Have you seen 2009's Orphan? And what were your general thoughts on it, chat? I'm interested. I'm very curious. He also directed a remake of Puzzle and Precinct 3. Oh, he did that? Ugh. Wasn't a fan of that movie. Didn't care for it, chap. Hamburger. Nope. Yeah, it's a fun schlocky. I don't think it's schlocky. There's nothing about it that maybe the twist is a little schlocky. It's like, oh, this is ridiculous. But everything else about it, I don't see it that way. I mean, it's playing it like very seriously. It's not like it's different. Like, I would say Orphan First Kill is schlocky because it has to be. because we already know what's going on. Like, that is a schlocky movie. It's a good schlocky movie, but I don't think this is a schlocky film at all. It's like, it's pretty serious. It's not until like the twist where it's like, oh, okay. Then it gets a little ridiculous and everything, but still I'm like, I'm with it, you know? Let's see here. Nope, never saw Summer Baby. Yes, in theaters. It's weird, but good. So I saw it. The twist was different. Firewolf. It actually was a good film. I'm just spoiled and biased. I love the bad scene. Yeah, right. Which a lot of people have compared this to. Of course. Dylan Murray knew Orphan was sneaky good when it first came out. Miko, I've seen the twist on YouTube. Yeah, I think a lot of people have. Like, a lot of people probably already know about the twist. And sorry if I'm spoiling it already, chat. But it's been out there. It's been out there for over a decade, chat. And it's what a lot of people were talking about when the movie was initially released. You got to see it for the twist. You know, but for the most part, I think it's a pretty goddamn solid thriller with fun performances from all the actors. No one does a bad job in this movie. No one's phoning it in, Chad. Vera Farmiga's not phoning in. Peter Sarsgaard's not phoning in. Even the little kid, they got little kids in here. I mean, well, the son's fine, but the daughter, the youngest daughter, Chad, who's deaf, who actually is partially deaf. In her life, she's killing it too. Everyone does a good job. So yeah, but we got a little bit of a mix here. It's interesting. Some people who have seen it actually like it, and those who have never seen it, Chad, well, let's go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty details of 2009's Orphan, Chat. We start with Vera Farmiga just super preggo, Chat. She's like, she's just waddling into the hospital with Peter Sarsgaard having to cradle her, Chat. She's going to keel over any minute, Chat. She's about to pop. That cork is going to pop any second, and all the baby fluid's going to come out of her, Chat. And, you know, Peter Sarsgaard, by the way, who just looks like the saddest dad ever. He's just got that general look in general. There's just something about him. So goddamn sad all the time, Chad. Just like, he just seems like he has the weight of the world on his shoulders. In this movie, I mean, partially he does, but everything he's in, Chad, just looking very, very sad. But he's there. He's talking to the nurse. He's like, my wife is having a baby. He's like, I'm having a baby. And I was like, okay, don't worry. We'll get a wheelchair for you. So they put big old preggo Vera Farmiga in the wheelchair, Chad, and they begin rolling her, and then her vagina falls out. It's like, oh no. I mean, it's bad, Chad, when your vagina falls out in the first, not even 5 minutes, in the first 2 minutes of the movie. And it's just this trail of meaty fluid, Chad. And the nurse is just do, and she's like, can we get to the room quickly? And it takes her sweet time, Chad, as Vera Farmiga is just leaking meaty vagina juice. Eventually, boom, they get her on the operating table, Chad, seemingly going to be preparing a cesarean section, but then the doctor, who is also being played by Peter Sarsgaard, which is weird, he says, oh, I'm so sorry. Because your vagine exploded, the baby's dead. And she's like, what are you talking about? It's like, yeah, baby's dead. And then another Peter Sarsgaard comes out of nowhere, and he's like, I'm going to film the whole thing, honey. She's like, no. And then you have this nurse who maybe was a female Peter Sarsgaard for all I know. I don't really know. And she's like, don't worry, we're going to suck it all out. Well, they use these giant, just huge fucking forceps. They open that up and then get the vacuum cleaner, and they just start sucking all that baby juice out of her. She's like, no! Oh, and then they do get the baby. I was like, oh, hey, we got the baby. Congratulations. But it just looks like this bloody, meaty monster. And she's like, oh, and then boom, she wakes up. It was a scary dream, Chad. It was a hell of a fucking way to start a movie, Chad, with the vagina falling out. But it was a scary dream. And she's like, I gotta get my pills. And so she goes to the bathroom. By the way, I noticed not a great color for the bathroom, Chad. It's like this taupey green. It's just, you just feel depressed. It's like, I'd be as depressed as Vera Farmiga too if I had a bathroom that had taupe green walls. Shit, just makes it extra dark. It looks like pea soup. It looks like you walked into a room just lathered in pea soup. And they're like, pea soup tastes good, but I want to look at it all the time. It make me sad, Chad. And then, you know, she, you know, they do the rule of 2/3, Chad. When one character is in just a third of the frame, and the other 2/3 is going to be a jump scare. But there's no jump scare. She opens the thing, and she is like, oh, is someone going to pop out? No meat, baby, no vagina. But she gets this big fucking pill. This thing's fucking huge, Chad. It's like, she going to swallow that? She going to put that up her butt? I don't know. One of them rectum pills? I'm not sure. But she takes the pill, and then again, goes by rule 2/3, boom, and then Dan Sarsgaard. He's like, hi, honey. She's like, oh, and she's like, oh, are you doing okay? She's like, I'm just really sad. Also, at one point, like, we see her lift up her shirt because she's rubbing her tummy. And so the death of that baby, well, that did happen. And we see that there was a cesarean, chat. And I was like, oh, that's sad. But we also learn a lot more about Vera Farmiga because of the death of her daughter, chat. Jessica, that was her name at one point. She developed an alcohol problem. She was a wino, mom, chat. She was a wino, and in order to kick the habit, she went into therapy where she talks with Margot Martindale, who is a super underrated actress in my opinion, chat. She was excellent in Justified. Check her out on that show. She killed it. Knocked to the park. But she's asking her how things are going, and she's like, I'm still having these horrible dreams. She's like, the vagina dreams. She's like, the vagina dreams, yeah. Are you still a wino? And she's like, nope, haven't had a drop of wine. Her wine mom days are long over, chat. You know, she's like, no. And she's like, well, you know what? Have you been thinking about adopting? I know you and Peter Sarsgaard have been talking about that for quite some time. And she's like, yeah, I just got to get in the right mindset for it. I want to be there for my adopted daughter. I don't want to half-ass it. Margot Martindale's like, yeah, good. That's smart. That's what you should do. Well, take time. It's an important step in your life. And just to be sure, just don't act like this is a replacement for your daughter. You know, you can't view the child that way. Like, that's going to be your daughter. And she's like, no, you're right. And so we also meet the rest of the two surviving kids. We meet Daniel, who he loves Guitar Hero. He loves Guitar Hero, and he loves pornography, Chad. That's what Daniel, and paintball. That comes into play. Actually, all three of those things come into play later on in the movie. But that's what Daniel loves. He loves paintball, he loves Guitar Hero, and he loves pornography. You also meet Kate, and the actress, I'll tell you what, the actress they got for Kate, cute as a goddamn button, Chad. She is adorable. In every scene that she sees some fucked up stuff in this movie, but every scene she's in, you're adorable. It's like, for the love of God, make sure nothing happens to Kate. All right, because I'll be very sad if something bad happens to Kate. Maybe something bad does happen to Kate. I'm not going to let you know yet. I'll come later in the spoiler review. But she has a disability. She's deaf. She's deaf, chat. And it's very difficult to hear, but, Vera Farmiga, she's always trying to be the best mom to Kate. You get a sense that, like, something bad happened not too long ago with Kate, and she has, like, a profound amount of guilt. We find out what that later is, chat. Or is it Max? Did I say Mac? Whatever! Kate, Max, same names, chat, same names. I think the real-life actress's name is Kate. Hold on, let me see. I'm incorrect. It's not. It's fucking not. It's Max. But she's cute, though. Little Maxine, chat. Little Kate. I think, sometimes her nickname might be Kate in the movie. Yeah, Kate rhymes with Max. Max, Kate, Max. You know what I'm saying. Thank you, Cass. Max, cute as a button in my honest opinion, chat. Vera Farmiga, something bad happened to the kid years ago. She blames herself for something, chat. We don't know, but fucking Max, she don't remember all that. She's like, I just want you to read me a story, and they're signing the language and things. And she's like, okay. And she wants to read the story. It's a very sad story. I'm like, oh my God, why do you have this book? She wants to read this child, like, therapy or a trauma book. And the whole concept is, you get those books where they try to introduce adult concepts to kids, but they're like children's books. And, like, this one is about this one little girl's unborn sister that died in the womb and went to heaven. And it's like, Jesus Christ, chat. And so Vera Farmiga, she's telling the story of this mother, but then the sister was so excited for her baby sister. But when the mom and dad came home, the sister wasn't there. Mommy's tummy was small again, and the daughter was asking what happened to my little sister, and she says, your sister is not here because she went up to heaven. And the little girl's like, that's good. I'm glad she's in heaven. That's nice. And then, but fucking Vera Farmiga's like crying. She's fucking crying at this point, Chad, because, she's remembering Jessica. She's like, you okay, Mommy? And she's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm fine. I'm fine. But she's not fine, Chad. She's got a lot of issues. And sad story time did not help. She then goes to Peter Sarsgaard. She's like, listen, I want to adopt a child. He's like, are you sure you're ready for this? And she's like, hell yeah, I am. So they take a trip to the orphanage, Chad. The orphanage, where they find the orphan. And they roll up, and, like, you could clearly, like, see someone is watching from the window. It's obviously Esther. it's Esther, chap. But then she's like, she ducks as they get out of the car, and they look like, what was that in the window? It's like some fucking monster or creature, which I guess in a way, she was. But they walk in the orphanage, and where they meet CCH Pounder, chat, who is the voice of Amanda Waller in the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited cartoon. But here she's playing Sister Abigail, and her sisters run this orphanage, chat. They got all these fucking kids running around. She's like, all right, pick and choose. Which one do you want? At one point, Peter Sarsgaard's like, I need to take a piss, so I'll be right back. You pick out a kid. He goes to the bathroom. He also needs a bit of a smoke break, right? Both him and Vera, they smoke, but they don't want the kids to know, right? But then he goes upstairs and he hears this this sinning or whatever. He hears that, or he gets the sense like someone's watching the door. He turns around, no one's there, and he goes to walk away. But all of a sudden, he hears this sing, right? And he's like, what the hell's going on? He opens the door crack, and he sees this little girl, this seemingly innocent little girl, just sitting on this stool and just painting this beautiful-looking picture of a lion. And he's like, And he's like, that's nice. And he's about to leave, and she's like, I know you're there. And he's like, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. And she's like, it's okay, it's fine. And he's like, why aren't you downstairs with all the other little kids? And it's because no one wants to adopt me, and so I don't see the point of going down there. And he's like, no, and he walks in, and they strike up a little conversation. He's like, well, what's your name? She's like, my name's Esther. And he's like, well, nice to meet you, Esther. That is a name that was, given to people in the 1920s. So, but hey, you're making it work. You're making it work, honey. And he's like, where are you from? She's like, I am from Russia. And he's like, Russia. Nice. What are you doing? She's like, and he sees all her paintings. He's like, did you do all these? And she's like, yes, I love to draw. I love to paint. And he's like, I love to do that too as a kid. I kind of do something similar to that. I'm an architect. And she's like, you build houses. You make pictures of houses. Then you make houses. And he's like, yeah. And so they start fucking bonding, chat. They start going back and forth and everything. And, eventually, Vera Farmiga, she's like, where'd my husband go? Where'd my husbando? And she goes upstairs, and she sees Peter just talking to little Esther. And she's like, hey, who's this? And he's like, this is Esther, and she's painting stuff. And she's like, what's this picture? And he's like, it's a mother, and it's a mother lion. And she's like, where are her cubs? And she's like, she's lost her cubs, and she's very sad. But that's why I have her, in all my pictures and all my paintings, I have it like a little story. And every time that she goes to sleep, she dreams of the cubs so she can be close to them. But then in my little story, the cubs eventually come back. They find their mother and they nestle, between her. And they're like, it's so adorable. And they're loving Esther. Everything this little girl's saying, it's like a honey. It's like sweet honey. And then Sister Abigail comes in, CCH Pounder. And by the way, her first reaction is like, don't be talking about that child over there. Don't be talking to that kid. And then she's like, the fucking Esther seems to be hitting it off with them. Perfect. This is great. And she's like, I see you've met Esther. And they're like, yeah, she's like the best orphan out of any of these other orphans here. We will take her. And she's like, great. I won't provide you any backstory on her whatsoever, except one thing. Apparently her family, they passed away under mysterious circumstances, and she's been traumatized, and she's kind of, she's been a good student and all, but, it's hard time acclimating with the trauma. So are you prepared for something like that? And they're like, yeah, that sounds good, sure. And so they wait a couple of days, and eventually, they pick her up, and she says goodbye to Sister Abigail and the other sisters, and they're driving home. And the thing about her is that she's initially super charming, and you're like, God, I do like Esther a lot. I'm totally on her side, even though you know what she is. And she's starting to learn sign language because Max. When I occasionally say Kate, you know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Max, chat. But her new little sister, Max, she's deaf, and so she's been adamant about learning sign language so she communicated her, because Max has always wanted a sister, chat, whether it be a big sister or little sister, because Daniel is always fucking playing Guitar Hero and just jerking off in his room. So she's like, I don't want to play with him. So I hope this new sister is great. And so Esther, she learned a little sign language, and she's asking about, just Max and what does she like to do. And she's like, she likes playing in the yard and she likes drawing. She's like, we both have that in common. That's wonderful. And so eventually they get there, and Max, again, cues a goddamn button. She's watching the window, and she's just so excited to meet her new sister. Jan's playing Guitar Hero, what the fuck ever? She's not my real sister. And Max, walks outside and runs outside, and Esther says, she's like, hello. And Max is like, She's just so excited, but she's also really shy at the same time. It's great. And then Esther, she does the sign language thing, and Max does it back to her, and it's like, oh, it's just adorable. It's perfect. And they bring her inside the house where we meet Graham, which is Peter Sarsgaard's mother. And she's like, oh, hello, Esther. Oh, nice to meet you. And she's like, nice to meet you. And she does the curtsy. And she's like, oh, I like what they're doing in Russia. And she's so impressed with how polite Esther is, chat, right? And at this point, it's like, hey, Esther's here. And so it's like almost like a birthday, if you will. Like they're giving her presents. And one of her presents is this, art kit and everything with the stand and stuff. And she gets like this sign language book so she can sign more with little Max, chat. And it's like, oh, this is adorable. It's just great. Everyone's loving her. Peter Sarsgaard's loving Esther. Vera Farmiga loving Esther. Max loving. She's got a big sister who, is communicating with her. It's great. Graham loves you like, you're my favorite granddaughter now. Max is the only, Daniel. Daniel's the only one who is just acting like a little shit. He's like, Dad, watch me do this cool thing on guitar. You're just pressing glowy buttons, you little shit. And Pierce says, yeah, in a minute, Dad. He's like, whatever. And then fucking Esther overhears him, like, and because he wants nothing to do with her. And I think at one point, They give her like the art kit thing. And she's like, oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. This is so kind of you. I've never gotten so many gifts in one day. And she goes to fucking hug Peter Sarsgaard. And she's just nuzzling his neck. And she just looks at Daniel and goes, hey, what's up? He's like, that's fucking weird. And so eventually though, they leave. Him and his friends, they leave, chat. They leave. And Esther and Max, they go outside to play like in the front yard, in the backyard, in the front yard, and they're playing the snow, and it's like they were sisters for their entire lives. Shit, it's adorable, it's perfect, right? And Vera Farmiga's watching this, and she's smiling and things, and then the fucking mother-in-law, Graham, she's like, make sure they don't play near the pond, the frozen pond. You remember what happened last time when you were fucking shit-faced. And Vera Farmiga's like, yeah, I remember. She's like, you were an alcoholic and a wine mother. What happened to Max was horrible. She's like, I got it, Mom. I got it. The trauma is there. It's like, God damn. Why are you bringing that shit? That mom, she just want to fucking mess with her daughter-in-law, chat. Eventually we cut to Daniel, who goes to his tree house with his two friends, and literally, chat, it just like, let me show you guys something. And he has a porn stash in there, and he has like a porn magazine. It's like 2009. Why are you fucking using porno mags? Don't you have the internet yet? Must have, I don't know, some kind of safety search options or stuff. He's like, check out page 17. You'll blow your mind. They're like, whoa. And they're just jerking it. Eventually, chat, we see more of Vera Farmiga and Peter Sarsgaard. They just keep bonding with Esther. They're loving it. Peter Sarsgaard and her, they're bonding over like drawing and things because he's an architect and he draws, and they're doing all that. It's wonderful. Loving time with Dad. She's also bonding with Vera Farmiga, chat. She's like, oh, you have a piano. I've always wanted to learn to play. And so, Vera Farmiga, she starts trying to teach Esther the piano and things. And, she's picking up really quick. And then Vera Farmiga's like, wow, that was really good. She's like, it was not good. I made at least 11 mistakes. And she's like, I mean, that's what's going to happen. We're all going to make mistakes. It's okay until we can, fine tune it and get better, and then we learn not to make those same mistakes again. And she's like, oh, thank you. You're very nice. I want to ask you something. Who is Jessica? And she's like, how do you know about Jessica? How do you know that name? Oh, Max told me when we were playing. And she seemed really sad that it was her sister, but I don't see another person here. I don't mean to make you sad, Mommy. And she's like, oh, honey, it's totally okay. Jessica was our daughter, and she died in my tummy. And well, let me show you. And so she goes over, and there's this, like, they have this kind of like greenhouse inside the house that you enter. And when there's this giant pot, right? And it's filled with these beautiful white roses. And there's this plaque dedicated to Jessica. And you learn that she put Jessica's ashes mixed in with the soil. And so, like, the white roses represent her daughter. And she's like, this is where she's been. And even though I never got to hold her alive in my hand, she has made something beautiful. And Esther's like, that is so beautiful. I'm so sorry, Mommy, that you went through something like that. And she's like, starts crying. She's like, oh, honey, it's okay. It's okay. She's like, no, I don't know. Thank you so much. I know that I can't be someone like Jessica, but I really appreciate you. And I just, it's so nice to be part of a family. And she's like, oh, I love you, Esther. And they start crying and hugging and shit. But oh, Chad, there's some dark things, dark tidings on the horizon. Eventually, we then cut to Vera Farmiga and Peter Sarsgaard, and they're saying goodnight to all their kids or whatever. You know, Dan being a little shit. You know, Max being adorable, and Esther like, well, this is your room, Esther. Very nice room. It's not too pink. It's like a subtle pink room. Subtly pink room, chat. Right? When they tuck her in and things, and eventually it starts kind of lightning and storming and things, and Esther's like, well, that's my cue to start doing creepy shit. And so she starts wandering around the house observing things, right? And she's like right at the foot of the bed of Max, just looking at her and like, you. Max like, what? Eventually we cut to Vera Farmiga and Peter Sarsgaard, who are getting into some sexy time, chat. And it's like, you know, fucking Peter Sarsgaard showing off the dad bod, showing off the moobs and things. And Vera Farmiga, she, you know, the thing that gets her going is her husband's just squishy dad bod. She's all about those moves. And, you know, they're all having fun and they're all, you know, rubbing against each other. And, but boom, another lightning strike. And fucking Esther and Max, they're like outside the door. And it's like, we're sorry to bother you, but the lightning is so scary. Lightning and thunder scares us. And, you know, Max signs like scary. And they're like, oh, yeah, no problem at all. Yeah. You know, your mother will take care of you. Don't come to my side of the bed yet. She's like, I'm coming to your side, Dad. And he's like, oh, okay. And so then Max gets in front of Vera Farmiga, and, you know, Vera Farmiga's, you know, cuddling, hugging Max. Well, Esther, she comes in, but she spoons Peter Sarsgaard. She's like, I'm so comfortable right next to you, Daddy. And he's like, yeah, it's great, isn't it? I was like, what the hell's going on there? Eventually, chat, you know, the thing is, like, it's like great having Esther. They're great having the kids there. Spending time with the kids, but fucking, you know, nature calls, chat. And Peter Sarsgaard and Vera Farmiga, they want to fuck. They really want to fuck. It's been quite some time since they started fucking. And so at this point, you know, Peter Sarsgaard, he just starts slapping Vera Farmiga's ass in the kitchen. She's like, ooh. And she starts, you know, slapping his dad bod around. They just start grinding on each other, chat. And so they're pulling each other's clothes off in the kitchen things. Vera Farmiga got all this black lace lingerie. It's like, goddamn. By the way, Vera Farmiga, gorgeous. Vera Farmiga's always been gorgeous. She's always been hot, chat. I think she's one of those underappreciated, just for her, I mean, very talented, but, you know, when you think of, like, oh, the most beautiful people in film, like, whether it be the men or women, Vera Farmiga, I think, is often left out. I don't know for what reason, but she is incredible. She looks great in this movie, chat. And taking off all the clothes, and he rips down the undies, and he's gonna just take her from behind, chat, just doggy style right in the kitchen, gonna be showing off his man meat, chat, everything. It's right there, and right when he starts just thrusting inside of her, Esther's like, I'm watching you, and they go, like from the side, they see her, like it's behind this glass door, she's just watching them fuck, and she just turns around and goes up the stairs, they're like, oh, Jesus, oh my God. Oh, well, that's like, oh, jeez. We got to try again next time. And so at this point, Vera Farmiga, she's like, okay, I got to go talk to her. I got to go talk to her about this. Try to explain the birds and the bees, what mommy and daddies do. And so we cut, and Esther's, you know, in her room, and she's painting a picture of Peter Sarsgaard. And Vera Farmiga, she's like, hey, honey, I just want to talk to you. It's like, there's nothing to talk about, mommy. And she's like, no, I'm not sure what you've seen in your life, of course. We definitely want to talk to you about that once we feel like you want to open up, and that's totally fine. But listen, sometimes, you know, like mommies and daddies, you know, when they love each other very much, they do things that seems really confusing, but it's a beautiful thing. And she's like, mommy, it's okay. I know that people like to fuck. Nigga's like, whoa. just drops the, I know you like to fuck, mommy. It's like, excuse me? And then eventually she goes and talks to him Peter Sarsgaard, and she's like, I mean, she fucking knew. She was very confident. Like, I'm surprised. She's 9 years old. How does she know about that? She's like, we don't know. I mean, the CCH Pounder said they have no history of her. And it's like, we don't know what she went through in Russia. Russia crazy over there, you know. But it's just like, yeah, I know, but it's weird. Like, did she use that language like a lot? Did you grow up around people that were saying fuck all the time or something? And this is a good line. This felt very natural. He's like, and I don't know if this is improvised. Peter Sarsgaard is like, I don't know, bitch. She's like, shut up. I like that a lot. Eventually, school day. It's school day. And everyone's getting ready for school and stuff. But Esther, you know, she's insistent on wearing these specific types of clothes, like from the 1940s and shit. And, you know, she wears these ribbons on her neck, and she wears these ribbons on her wrist, and she just doesn't like to take them off. Like, that's her thing. And they got to respect her boundaries, chat, because, you know, it's got to acclimate. It's weird, trust issues. So it's like, it's fair. But Daniel's just like, this doesn't look good. And people are going to be making fun of her. They're going to know I'm fucking my not real sister's a freak. And even Max is like, this ain't good. Even she's like, not great. But even Vera Farmiga's like, honey, listen, I got you some jeans and I got you some Hello Kitty shirts and shit. Don't you want to wear that? He doesn't say shit, but you know. And she's like, but I like this. I think it's very pretty. Don't you think so, mommy? And she's like, yeah, you know, you do what you want to do. And she's like, okay, I will. And then they leave. And eventually they go to school. And, you know, like Daniel's in I think, is Daniel in class with her? I guess they share a class. Oh, that's right. They share a class. I guess they're the same age. And she's there. And the teacher's introducing, hello, everyone. I just want to introduce our new student here. This is Esther. Coleman? I forget what their last names are. The family. I think it's Coleman, I want to say. It is Coleman. Well, the Corey Coleman clan, chat, yes. This is Esther Coleman. Everyone say hello. And fucking this little, I don't know who this other student is. And I'm going to call, maybe her name is Kate, chat. That's the new Kate. Or her name is like Kimmy or something or whatever. Karen. I'm going to call her Karen, chat, for the sake of convenience. And she's like, can you let Esther know that this isn't a fucking private school, okay? All right? It's not a Catholic school. You can dress up whatever you want. You don't have to dress up like you're from the 1950s. Bitch. And Esther's like, I'm going to hurt you. And then she takes her seat, but not a great first day of school, chat, in my opinion. But Esther just got this death stare. She's just staring at this little Karen the making. She's like, you. Eventually, then cut. I don't know. It's later in the day or later in the week or something. Esther and Max, they're still playing, having a great time, just being sisters. But we cut to Daniel, chat, who is he's not playing Guitar Hero and he's not jerking off, so he's probably doing some paintball. And so he's practicing his paintball. He's shooting at this target, chat. He's like, yeah, paintball. And then this pigeon lands like right next to the target, right above it. And he's like, yeah, pigeon. Boom, and he hits it. And that thing, that bird's like, ah. That bird gets fucked up, falls. It's like, that bird's not going to make it. He's like, oh no. And then Esther and Max go over and he's like, you shot the bird. Why would you do that? He's like, it was an accident. She's not from where I was standing. And she's like, it's in horrible pain. You need to end it. You need to end its suffering. And he's like, I don't wanna. And then she just fucking picks up with this giant fucking rock. It's a brick. Picks up a fucking brick in the middle of the woods. He's not just find like random bricks in the middle of the woodshed. I used to. And she's like, take care of it. He's like, no, what's wrong with you? And she's like, all right, whatever. And she just, this huge fucking brick, and just smushes, turns that pigeon into pigeon mush, chat, mush. It's like, oh. He's like, oh my God, you're evil. And he runs away. And even Max is looking at her like, she's like, I had to do it. It was hurting. It was better this way. Better to die than to suffer. You understand, Max. You are my sister. And she's like, yeah. So eventually, bath time with Esther, chat. And so Vera Farmiga, she got this bath ready for Esther. And she's like, okay, honey, well, let me know if you need anything. Thank you. And she locks the door. Vera Farmiga's like, honey, could you open that? She's like, yes. She's like, listen, just a rule in the house, we don't keep locked doors, okay? She's like, well, I always used to lock the door. What if someone comes in? I am going through the change. And she's like, oh, yeah, okay, this one time, okay, but it won't be a regular thing. She's like, thank you, mommy. And she locks the door. Vera Farmiga, she goes to Esther's stuff and she starts putting her little clothes away and stuff. And then she notices like this one drawer just won't fucking like shut. She's like, what the hell's going on here? And eventually she finds out there's something behind the drawer, and it's this big fucking black Bible. And so it's just like this thing, it looks like the Necronomicon of Bibles. She's like, this is weird. And she like takes a picture comes out of it, and she's like, what the hell? It's like this random guy, this random like dad, this sad dad. She's like, reminds me of my sad dad, Peter Sarsgaard. And she puts that back in there, chat. And then she sees like something on the back of the Bible. It's in the backmost page. It's like this this institute. It's called like somewhere in Estonia. She's like, whatever. The Spencer Institute or something, chat. Sensorizer Institute. She's like, whatever. She doesn't pay any attention to it, chat. And she puts it back in there, just like whatever. It's totally fine. Eventually, we then cut to school again, and Esther, she's Sarin. Thank you. Oh, the Sarin Institute. Thank you so much, bad boy. Sarin Institute. Thank you. It's the next day at school, and the fucking little bully bitch Karen just keeps harassing Esther, and Daniel sees this, and he's like, she's a fucking freak. That's what fucking happens to freaks. They get harassed. Like, Daniel, you're a little shit. Like, I know Esther's a goddamn murderous dwarf, really. But still, you're being kind of a dick. I have to admit, I'm like, I kind of feel bad for Esther in this part of the movie, because I'm like, I know you're what you really are, and you're crazy, but at the same time, you're not being very nice, Daniel. But at one point, Karen, she grabs the Bible from Esther, who's always carrying around, Chad, and you learn why she's actually carrying that around. And she's like, give it back to me, give it back. And she's like, you fucking Bible freak, you're like a Jesus freak. No wonder you dressed like a fucking Catholic Jesus freak all the time, Jesus. And she's like, you want your Bible back? Here! She just fucking throws it in the air, and everything starts coming undone. She's like, and she's grabbing everything. She's trying to put everything back together, and everyone's like, whoa, and she just fucking freaks. She just starts screaming and hollering. Chad's like, whoa. And so it's later that evening, everyone's having dinner, and they're trying to, Esther, she's you could tell that she's just very sad, and what's been happening. And they try to comfort her, but then also like, hey, how did everyone's day go, that kind of thing. And they're like, Daniel, how was your day? And he's like, I don't know, man. Well, you ask my not sister how her day was. And they're like, Daniel, that is your sister. She's like, no, she's not. She's a fucking weirdo and a freak, man. And he's like, now, that's it, Daniel. That's it. Okay, your treehouse jerking off sessions are done. And so Peter Sarsgaard, he goes to the treehouse and he locks it with a padlock, Chad. Boom! No more treehouse access for Daniel, because he's been very rude to Esther, Chad. Very rude to Esther. Win Fox, thank you for resubscribing. Appreciate that. Oh, and good to see you, Naya Brownie. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having fun. But after that, Chad, we then cut to, yes, that's right, the park. We're at the park where Peter Sarsgaard, sad dad, has taken Max and Esther for playground fun. Remember those like giant, like all wood like playgrounds where they were like, they had those huge like jungle gyms? It was like one of those. Are those still around? I think those are still around, chat. But they're there, and fucking Peter Sarsgaard's pushing Max in the swing, and he's like, do you want me to push you, Esther? She's like, no, it's okay. I just want to sit here. And he's like, well, okay, honey. Well, if you let me, no, I'm happy to push you. She's like, I hope you do. And he's like, huh? And he's like, oh, nothing. It's fine. And he's like, okay. And then, Chad, a hot MILF mommy comes right across Peter Sarsgaard, and she's got the bazungas on full display. She's got like a kid that she's not paying attention to at all. She's like, hi, Peter Sarsgaard. How are you doing? And he's like, oh, hi, Lily. How are you? And she's like, I'm great. Listen, I like need some help like lifting some heavy stuff at the house. Could you help lift me? I mean, help lift that stuff. And he's like, oh, well, and he's just staring right on her boobs. I mean, she's got one of those boob shirts that's just like, they're just sticking out there, chat. So I can't exactly blame him, all right? I mean, they're in his eye line. You're going to be like, it's hard, okay? It's hard. And she wants to put him on display. And he's like, yeah, but Peter Sarsgaard, give him this, chat. He's like, yes, Vera Farmiga and I will happily come over and help you lift all that stuff. She's like, That's great. Meanwhile, we see little Karen, chat from school. She pulls up on her goddamn bike and makes eye contact with Esther, and Esther's like, you. And she's like, And she goes into the jungle gym area. And then she turns around, Esther's just gone. Just pulled the fucking Batman. And then we just get her, like, going around this jungle gym and, like, looking for Esther, like she's going to be behind every corner. Get a couple of jump scares. The kid's going, woo, jungle gyms. It's great. And at one point, she goes up to the tallest tower right near the slide, chat. And she looks out. She doesn't see anything. And then Esther's like, bah, you. And she's like, ah. Then Esther goes, bah. Just fucking pushes this girl. She falls halfway. One of her legs lands on the slide shaft. Bonk. That thing just cracks. That thing just goes, burnt, just inverts itself. Bone sticking out. She's like, just concussed, chat. One eye's just derpy now. It's like, oh, it's rough. And little Max, she sees all of it. She's like, my God. But then Esther, she just disappears into the jungle gym. It's like, oh my God. And it's like, holy shit. Eventually, they cut the parents. The parents, they're talking. They're like, oh, what happened was, I mean, because now at this point, Vera Farmiga is getting a little suspicious. She's like, this is just getting kind of weird, right? And Spears is just like, listen, we don't know what happened, all right? Everyone, the Karen, she said, that Esther pushed her, but no one saw it. Max, you were there. Did you see it? And Esther's like looking at Max and like, don't you fucking say a fucking word. And Max is like, she fucking fell. She fell. And Esther's like, good. Right there. You didn't see shit. That's right, Esther to Max. You didn't see fucking shit. And she says that. But everything is like, she's a little unsure. She's still a little unsure. Eventually, then they're going, next day they're going grocery shopping at this point, and they're walking around. It's like, hey, you guys want to pick out something for dinner? Pick something out. It'll be fun. But then CCH Pounder, she calls chat. She wants to check in on everybody, right? And Vera Farmiga, she answers the phone. It's like, oh, fucking Sister Abigail, CCH Pounder, how you doing? Do you want to talk to Esther? And Esther's like, I want to talk to that fucking bitch. And she's like, whoa! And, she's like, sorry, Esther, she's a little shy right now. She's like, oh, it's no problem. Listen, I just want to let you know, part of, the adoption process, we still need to keep tabs on the child for a period of time. So if you can provide, recent dental records, and we will have to do a specific visit at some point. She's like, oh, yeah, of course, yeah, we'll set something up. And then meanwhile, Esther and Max, they go over to, a fruit stand, and they're, watching. And because Max, she learns, can read lips. And she's like, what the fuck she's saying? And Max is like, they're talking about you. And she's like, oh, shit. So what else are they saying? And they start talking about, Vera Farmiga mentions, because CCH Pounder's like, has there been any issues with Esther? She's like, oh, well, little issues. Maybe, allegedly, she pushed this little girl and broke her leg and made one of her eyes really derpy. But I'm not sure. And CCH Pounder's like, oh, really? And she's like, yeah, but again, no one saw it, and it's only the little girl's word against Esther's and my other daughter, so I'm just not so sure. And then fucking Esther's asking Max what's she saying, and she's like, she's talking about the Karen. And she's like, fuck. All right, no problem. We'll deal with this. Eventually, Sister Abigail, she finally does come to visit, because she's like, oh, listen, so good. Is Esther here? And Esther's like, hey, how you doing? And she's like, oh, good to see you, Esther. How's everything? She's like, I'm fine. I'm very happy with my new mommy and daddy. Why are you here? You don't need to be here. And they're like, Esther. And then she's like, oh, it's okay. She's being protective of her family, as she should. I don't understand. But I just want to go talk to your mommy and daddy now, Esther, if that's okay. She's like, yeah, that's fine. And then they go and talk. And CCH Trender's like, oh, listen, remember when I said that Esther has no history of violent behavior and shit? And they're like, yeah, I forgot that there were a lot of weird situations with her where people were getting injured and losing eyeballs and fingers and shit. But then but everyone said it wasn't Esther, but maybe it was. Like, what are you telling us now? She's like, I don't know. Also, yeah, her last family all died in a fire. All of them died in a fire. Mom got burned up. Mother got burned up. Brother got burned up. If you saw the prequel, you would have known they all got burned up. But weird. Whole family just abode just died, all burned away. And they're like, huh? Well, that's a little concerning. She's like, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't worry about it. Just keep a good old eye on her. Meanwhile, they are busy not keeping an eye on her, chat. And Esther, who's been going around the house at night, she has found out where Peter Sarsgaard has been keeping his gun, and so she takes his gun with little Max in tow, and she even at one point she like empties all the bullets out, keeps just one bullet, puts the rest inside there, and she just points the gun at Max. She's like, "Want to play a game?" And Max is like, "No." And she's like, "We can play later." It's like we play Russian roulette. What the hell's going on? And she's like, "Listen, little sister. The mean black woman is trying to take me away from you. You don't want that, do you?" And Max is like, she's like, "No, right?" She's like, "Yeah, no, I want you. I want you here. You're great." And she's like, "Good." And so we are going to scare her so bad that she's never comes back. She never comes back to house. Good? Dobrze. Okay, let's go. And so eventually Sister Abigail, she leaves, but then Max and Esther, they leave earlier. And so they're waiting at the side of the road right now, like where this little bridge is. And Sister Abigail's car is like coming. Sister Abigail trying to get a goddamn cigarette, trying to smoke, trying to get it lit, right? And Esther's like to Max, like, "Listen, you need to go in the middle of the road, so you scare her, go, like that." And Esther and Max is like, "I don't want to do that, no." And she's like, "You need to do now. You need to," she just pushes her. She's like, she pushes her. And Sister Abigail's like, "Oh," and she fucking like, she, swerves and she misses little Max and she crashes the car. She's like, and all that. And she hears Max crying. She's like, "Oh no." She gets out of the car and Max is like, "Max, what are you doing here? What's wrong? Why are you out here?" And she's like comforting her and things. And then Max just goes, "Oh," and she's like, "What?" And then she like turns around and there's Esther going, "You need to leave now, bitch." Bah! And just hits her over the head with a hammer. And it's a big, meaty fucking big, meaty chunk shit. Just meet me, boom. Right in the fucking head, right in the goddamn head. It's like, good Lord, chat. And so they're like, "Help me move body." And she's I just like, "Help me move body. We killed her together. You are accessory to murder. You must do." And she's like, "Okay." And so she's helping dragging Sister Abigail's body to the side of the goddamn road at this point, chat. And she's like, "Listen, we need to make sure no one finds body for some time, and we need to hide evidence. That's what we need to do." But then they notice, like, Abigail, she's like crawling away, and she falls more down the hill. She's like, "I must take care of business. I'll be back." And Sister Abigail's like, "No, Esther, no." She's like, "You shouldn't have come from me." And she takes hammer and goes, just starts whacking the shit out of Sister Abigail's head. She just turns it to just melon paste. It's just face mush at that point. It's like, oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. Eventually, we then cut and we see Esther and Max. They break into the treehouse with the hammer and they hide it in the treehouse, Chad. But then Daniel, he observes this because he wanted to try to get in for a good old jerk off sesh. But he's like, "Oh shit!" But he did see it. He did see it at that point, Chad. Eventually, later that evening, like Esther senses that he was looking at them, and so later that night, as Daniel's in bed, we see Esther pull out a fucking box cutter and press it into his neck. He's like, "Oh!" He's like, "What did you see? What did you see?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Tell me what you saw and I'll slit your throat right now." He's like, I didn't see anything. And then she just moves down. He's like, "I'm going to cut off your little cock and your little balls before you'd even know what to do with them." And he's like, "Oh, I just saw you in the treehouse with my sister, but that's all I saw." And she's like, "Good. Now don't fuck with me, or I cut off your little cock and balls and shove them down your disgusting American throat. Dobrze? Good." And so he's like, "Whoa!" And then Esther just starts exhibiting just more weird behavior throughout the movie. Jealousy towards Vera Farmiga. Like now because one day Vera Farmiga, she's just, she's doing stuff in the kitchen. All of a sudden she hears like this masterful piano playing. That's the other thing too. Like Vera Farmiga's like a musician and she writes music and things. She's a pianist. And she just fucking hears like Esther just killing the piano. And she's like, "Esther, how did you know this? Like, you taught me very well, mother." She's like, "I didn't teach you that." And she's like, "Oh, yes, you did. And I knew how to play a lot of songs on piano." She's like, you said you didn't know how to play the piano." "No, I did tell you. I told you. You don't listen to me. Why don't you listen to me anymore, mommy?" She's like, "What?" She's like, "What?" And she's getting confused. Also, like, she's refusing to go to the dentist. Like, Peter Sarsgaard, he's like, "All right, Esther, we got to go to the dentist." We got to go to the dentist now. And she's like, under the cover. She's like, Esther. She goes, bye, scary daddy. He's like, ha, 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 yes. He's like, you do know you have to go to the dentist. Like, no, the dentist is scary. We had many dentists in Russia, and they hurt my teeth, daddy. And he's like, all right, well, we'll play hooky this one time, but we're going to have to reschedule. And she's like, yay. He's like, do you want to go and draw? And do you want to go draw with me? And she's like, yes. And so they go down to his little studio. He's working on his stuff. And he's like, so how's everything going, right now? I know things have been kind of rough at school. She's like, it's nice. But I don't know, mommy's looking at me weird now. I don't think she likes me as much as she originally did. And he's like, no, honey, no, mommy, listen, mommy, she sometimes gets sad. We all get sad sometimes. And it's hard. You know what you should do? And just to prove to you that I know that mommy loves you so much, you should do something really nice for mommy. That's something she really appreciates. And she's like, okay, daddy, that sounds good. And she goes up to hug him, and a little squeeze on that dad bod. And so then it's like, I don't know, later that day, next day. And, Esther, she walks up to Vera Farmiga. She's like, Mommy, I've gotten you a present. She's like, oh, yeah? What'd you get me? And she presents, look, flowers. And it's this big, beautiful bouquet of white roses. She's like, oh, and it's the roses. She had the very roses from the pot where her daughter's ashes were. She cut them all. And she's like, what did you fucking do? What did you do? She's like, Mommy, no. And she grabs her hand. She's like, ah. She's like, oh, you're hurting me. And she's crying. Her also like, what the fuck is going on? What are you doing? And she's like, look what she did. She knew what she did. It's like, wow. There's a lot going on here. A lot going on. And Vera Farmiga, she's confronting Peter Sarsgaard. She's like, I told her about that. She knew exactly what they were. She's like, no, it's my fault. I told her to do something nice for you, and she wanted to get you flowers. She's like, she knew those flowers were special to me, okay? She's just doing this for some reason. I don't know. I want her out of here, Peter Sarsgaard. Peter Sarsgaard's like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Would we adopt her? What do you mean? She's like, I just don't like it. All these weird things are happening, and I just with the Karen girl and all this weird stuff. She's being really aggressive, and these patients like, oh God, listen, you got to take it easy. Are you drinking again? She's like, don't you fucking bring up my drinking. I haven't had a goddamn drop. Okay, I'm fine. It's her. She's the problem. Peter says, you gotta relax. You gotta take it easy. Meanwhile, Esther's like, in her bedroom going, yes. She sneaks down late in the night. And she goes to the little workshop, Peter Sarsgaard's workshop, and she takes her arm that was, grabbed by Vera Farmiga, not like a scratch, maybe like a slight bruise or something, but barely anything, puts it in this vise, puts her little arm in this vise, and just starts tightening and tightening and tightening, squeezing, until the bone pops out. And she's like, ugh. Later that night, she's crying and shit, she's whining. Peter Sarsgaard, she's like, Daddy, and he's like, oh, fuck. And he's like, what's wrong, Esther? He's like, my arm hurts. She's like, all right, let me take a look. And the arm's just like, holy shit, the bone's popping out and things, swollen bruises. Like, oh my God, we got to get you to the hospital. And they take her to the hospital and things, and they come back. And Vera Farmiga, she was waiting in the living room. And Peter Sarsgaard put Esther in their bedroom. And Vera Farmiga's like, what's going on? What happened? And she's like, you broke her arm. And she's like, I barely even touched her. What are you talking about? She's like, the fucking bone nearly was popping out of her skin, okay? She's like, I didn't mean to hurt her. That wasn't, it's like, listen, I'm going to stay up here with her tonight. I don't think she wants to see you right now. Maybe you should sleep downstairs. I think that's what you should do. And Esther just smiles from behind him like, yeah, I got your man. She's like, oh. And then Vera Farmiga, she then goes to a liquor store, Chad. She just buys the 2 gallons of wine. She's like, yeah, like me, Chad. I know a wine mommy because I'm a wine dad. She buys these 2 giant wine jugs, and she's like, we're just having a really big party. And the guy's like, just so dismissive of her. Just knows like, yeah, I know you're a fucking wino. And she takes them both home, pours herself a fucking glass. She's like, no, never again. And she like dumps one of the wine jugs. It takes a long time. There's a lot of wine in there. She just dumps it in the sink and takes a glass. She's like, oh, it's terrible. Eventually, it's the next day. And, you know, she's dropping the kids off at school, and Daniel's, he's like, Daniel, you okay? He's like, I'm fine. He leaves. And then, you know, oh, that's the thing. So before he gets up, Esther cuts like a hole in his backpack with the box cutters that she has, and all of his books start falling out of his backpack. And so she goes like, wait, Daniel, your backpack. He's like, what? She's just picking up the books and giving them to him. Meanwhile, Esther, she steps out of the fucking minivan, and she like looks at Max, and she's like, listen, I gotta do what I gotta do. And she just puts that into neutral, and the fucking car, she's like, Max, like, I've been loyal to you. And she's like, I don't care. I have no further use for you. And the car just starts careening down. It's all icy and shit. And Veronica's like, oh, my baby. And she's like running after the car. This one fucking guy, I don't know, this teacher or the gym coach, he tries to stop the car. He tries to get in there, but it's too late. And all these cars are like, you know, swerving out of the way, and crashes into a snowbank. Max is fine. But she's like, all right. This is some fucking bullshit. She knows that it has to be Esther. It just has to be here. It has to be him. Be her at this point. Eventually, you know, Daniel, he's like, all right, we got to get rid of Esther. So he goes and confronts Max. And he's like, listen, I saw you, because he goes when Esther's like in the bathroom or something, like taking a bath or whatever. And he goes there and he confronts Max. He's like, listen, okay, what's been going on with you and Esther? What has she made you do? I know you don't want to do it. You got to, please. And he's signing to her. And she shows him all these pictures of like the murder of Sister Abigail and hiding all the stuff in the treehouse, and how she fucking made little Karen's legs all bent and broken and derpy. And he's like, oh my God, she's a murderer. And she's like, where's Sister Abigail's body? Where's the evidence? And she's like, it's in the treehouse. She's like, oh shit, I gotta go. But then you realize Esther's been listening in on them the entire fucking time, Chad. And she's like, I should have killed you sooner, Max. I should have killed you sooner. I was like, shit. Eventually, oh yeah, that's right. Vera Farmiga and Peter Sarsgaard get a call confirming that they found the body of Sister Abigail. They found poor CCH Pounder, chat, just dead in a ditch, face all mushy. It's horrible. It's horrible, chat. It's terrible. Later that day, though, Vera Farmiga, she's like, okay, I gotta learn about this Saarn Institute. I'm gonna call them. So she calls up the Saarn Institute, chat, trying to research some stuff, because he realizes, like, what is this? And the guy who answers, they're all speaking, you know, Russian or Estonian or whatever. And she's like, can I speak to someone that knows English? And they're like, one moment. Then they bring back this one guy, one of the orderlies or one of the doctors there. And he goes, yes. And she's like, hi, I'm sorry. I just want to ask you, do you speak English? She's like, yes, I speak English, yes. And she's like, oh, I'm just calling because I just want to ask you about one of your former girls that was living there at the orphanage. And he's like, I'm sorry, ma'am, but this is not an orphanage. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I must have the wrong number. He's like, no worries. Yes, this is a mental institute for the criminally insane. And she's like, what? And while this is all going on, we then cut to Daniel, who is finally gotten into the treehouse again, and he's like looking through everything. He goes through like his secret little what used to be his porn stash, and he opens it up, and there's nothing in there. And then Esther just appears behind him. He's like, "Were you looking for this, little brother?" And she throws the hammer down, and he's like, "You killed Sister Abigail, didn't you?" And she's like, "Yes, I killed her. I did, and now." You must die too. Nothing is better than the cleansing power of fire. Do you agree? And she gets these fucking kerosene. She starts like spraying the kerosene over the treehouse. He's like, what are you doing? She starts like spraying him with kerosene. He's like, no. She's like, yes, now you must die. It's good, Dobja. And then just lights him on fire. He's like, ah! And poor little Daniel. He's like running around and shit. Just yeets himself out of the treehouse. Yeah, then he lands in the snow before the burning like really gets him. But boom, knocks the wind out of himself. Esther's like, fuck, I need to finish him off. And she goes downstairs, picks up the same brick with the pigeon innards all mixed in. She's about to kill him. But then I think the grandmama and Vera Farmiga, she's on the phone, and she's like, could you have any files on someone named Esther or something? And they're like, yes, can we have your number? She's like, here's my number. It's like, I gotta go. And then she runs over, and she's Daniel's all concussed and burned up and stuff. She's like, what did you fucking do? And eventually they go to the hospital, or he's sedated, he's fine, you know, it's just like, he's thankfully very minimal burns, the clothes took most of it, just a little bit. And, but he's got a pretty bad concussion, so we're just going to keep him, you know, here for a while. And at this point, Esther's like, shit, I gotta take care of him really quick. That's what I need to do. And so she's like, excuse me, Graham. She's like, yes, Esther, honey. She's like, can I go get a soda pop? And she's like, of course, honey, of course. She gives her $1. Thank you. And then she's like, yeah, I'm gonna go and take care of my brother. So she goes into his room. He's like kind of coming to, but he's like, he's all on sedatives. And she like removes some of the stuff on him, like the little beeper booper on his finger, so he keeps track of his pulse. And he's like, huh? And she's like, you must die. And she starts smothering him, just like, he's like, and then dead, flatlines, Chad. She's like, okay, very good. And she puts a little booper bumper on his finger, and she leaves. And then they hear it's like code 99 or whatever in hospitals and shit. And Veronica's like, my baby, and she runs over there. But they manage, thankfully, Chad, they resuscitate him. They do resuscitate him. He's okay. He's good. He's good, Chad. Just minimal burns, a little bit of a concussion. Maybe one of his eyes is a little derpier than the other one now, but for the most part, he'll still be able to do pretty well at Guitar Hero, Chad. He'll still be able to shoot a paintball. Jerking off might be a little harder now, but for the most part, he's fucking good. And she's like, it was her, it was Esther. And then we see Esther just fucking walking down the hallway with like a good old Sierra Mist or Coca-Cola, just drinking it. Yeah, good old murder. And fucking Vera Farmiga, she runs up on her. What did you fucking do, you little bitch? And bah, just slaps her. And she's like, daddy. And they tackle fucking all the orderlies and all the medical staff. They tackle Vera Farmiga. She's like, no, it was her. They stab her full of sedatives, like horse tranquilizer. And she's like, no. And they take her to one of the rooms and like, don't worry, Mr. Peter Sarsgaard. We'll make sure to keep your wife here until she recovers. He's like, okay. Peter Sarsgaard's had a rough fucking day. Like, he just like, all right. Mom's like, you call me, I'm gonna go home. I need to lay down, I'm getting the vapors. And he's like, I understand. And he takes Max home, and he takes Esther home. Eventually, he's tucking Max in. Also, Max takes out her hearing aids, and fucking Esther just fucking swipes that shit. She just swipes that shit because she can hear a little bit of the hearing aids. She pockets them. She's like, good night, little sister. And she's like, ooh. And then later that evening, Peter Sarsgaard, he finds the wine. He finds the wine at one point. Oh, I forgot. There's one other additional scene. So they go and see before the stuff with the son, Daniel, getting, all burned up and a little derpy. They do go back to Margot Martindale for therapy, and they take Esther there to see like what situation is. She manipulates Margot Martindale, and Margot's like, she's just a wonderful little girl that's being abused by Vera Farmiga. And she's like, I'm not abusing her. Jeez, like, you broke her arm, didn't you? It's like, I didn't think I fucking grabbed her that hard. And she's like, you have problems. Are you back on the wine drank, Vera? And she's like, no. And Peter says, I found your wine bottle. And she's like, listen, I did buy those, and I opened one of them, but I didn't drink it, and I dumped it out. I'm not a wino anymore. And they're like, I think you're a wino, mommy now. And she's like, God damn it. And so and then we got the scene where, we forget scenes, no way. It's one scene, so I forgot one goddamn scene. One fucking scene. You can't hold that against me. But now we're back. Peter Sarsgaard, he drank a jug. He drank a jug of that fucking wine, Chad. He's a wine daddy. I know what it's like, Peter Sarsgaard. And then we cut to Esther, who's doing something. She's getting all dolled up. She's like changing her outfit. She's putting makeup on and shit. She takes one of Vera Farmiga's dresses and she makes it like fit her. It's like, what the hell's going on here? And then she goes to the kitchen. She's cutting stuff up with this big fucking knife. And then she just starts walking out like, yeah. And fucking Peter Sarsgaard's like, Vera? And she's like, no. It's me, Daddy. Esther. And she puts down this beautiful looking cheese board, Chat. You got the cured meats, you got the pickles, you got the cheeses, you got the grapes, you got the fruit. I have to admit, Esther might be a murderous fucking psychopath, but she makes a goddamn good cheese plate, Chat. She puts that down, and she's just, hi. And he's like, Esther, what are you wearing? She's like, do you like me in it? Do you find me sexy, Daddy? And she's like, why are you saying these things? She's like, I've just been watching you, Daddy, and Vera Farmiga, she doesn't treat you very well. She doesn't appreciate you. I appreciate you. And he's like, honey, no. And she's like, it's okay. It's fine. It's completely natural. And she starts trying to make out with him. And he's like, Esther, no. And she's like, Daddy, I thought you loved me. And he's like, I do, honey, but not in that way. You're like my daughter, and I'm just really confused. My whole family's falling apart. She's like, it's okay. Sit down. It's okay. He's like, okay, I'm just really sad right now. And I know you don't understand, but I drank a lot of fruit juice, and why are you jerking me off? And she's like, because it feels good, doesn't it, Dad? He's like, no! Stop it! What's wrong with you? And she's like, no! She just fucking runs away. And he's like, what the fuck? We then cut to Vera Farmiga, who finally comes to in the hospital. She's like, what the fuck happened? And she gets a big old ring-a-ding-ding on her phone. And it's from the Sarn Institute. It's from the Sarn. It's like, comment back. Sarny Sarn. Hello, Vera Farmiga. And it's like, you have a killer dwarf in your home. What? Yeah, it's a 35-year-old dwarf woman. She's been pretending to be like 9 years old for like 25 years, and she's been murdering everybody she's come across. Is she alone with your husband? Yeah, he did. We then cut back. We then cut back to the house where Esther's freaking the fuck out. She goes to her room. She just starts taking all the makeup off. I will do admit, they make her look older. From this point on in the movie, she does look older. Just like you see more of the, I don't know if it's the makeup or some slight CGI, but she has more wrinkles on her face now. I was like, oh, this is kind of subtle. And she takes out her fucking dentures and her teeth are all like, they're all rotten and everything. That's probably not good. And then, boom, all the fucking electricity in the house just goes out. So she took out the fuse box. And Vera Farmiga, she's like, I gotta go. I gotta to the hospital. I gotta save my dumb husband. And so she gets in her car and she's fucking crashing and shit. But she's gotta go home and rescue her hubby and rescue her little Max. Cute as a button Max. She got Gollum teeth. It's just so sweet. Fun to eat. Very much so. But eventually he cut Peter Sarsgaard, and he then goes, he's like, girls, are you here? And he goes to fucking Esther's room. And she's been using this glow-in-the-dark ink chat, and all across her walls and the ceiling are these super erotic drawings of Esther and Peter Sarsgaard just fucking hard chat, and they got a hole on them. They fucked in that hole, up the asshole, up the vagine, in the belly button, everywhere. It's like, oh my God. And he can't believe it, Chad. And he's like, I gotta find Max. Where's my daughter? He's going down the stairs, and you just hear like a meaty thunk. He's like, oh, and behind him he sees that the big old fucking knife, the cheese board knife, is in his back. He's like, and then he like pulls it out. He's like, oh, and then Esther goes, bah, she pushes Daddy down there, bah, 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 and Daddy falls down the stairs and he's paralyzed. He's like, Esther, and she's like, I tried to make you happy, Daddy, but you made me so angry, and now you must die. And she just starts stabbing the shit. He's like, no, Esther, no, and just stabs him. Stabs him to death, and that's the end of Peter Sarsgaard, Chad. Poor, sad dad, Peter Sarsgaard in his moobs. Eventually, though, Vera Farmiga, she does indeed arrive home, and she's trying to find Max, but Max, she's hiding. She's hiding in the garden area, the plants and shit, and Esther's hunting her with the gun that she has. At one point, Vera Farmiga, she ends up on the outside. I think she gets shot. Esther does fucking shoot her one time, I think. But she ends up on the outside of the house, right above the greenhouse where she sees Max. She's like, shut the fuck up, Max. I'm going to surprise Esther. And so then Esther finally wanders into the fucking greenhouse chat looking for Vera Farmiga and Max so she can kill them both and then she can leave. Because she has to cover up all her fucking crimes. But then, eventually she hears Vera Farmiga on top of the greenhouse because of the crack in the glass. And she's like, you fucking American bitch. And she shoots her. And then Vera Farmiga's like, and she lands on her. Boom. Concusses and knocks out Esther. Max runs over to her and they're like, oh, mommy. And she doesn't say anything. She signs mommy. She's a fucking dwarf. And she's like, I know. The Estonians told me she's a crazy dwarf. So let's get out of here. I called the Popo. So the Popo, they be coming too. Popo coming. And they leave. They're just running out. Why are you running out? Why are you running out into the woods? Just stay, kind of like stay outside. I don't understand why they just ran out into the woods. That's the one I'm like, I'll go with everything that's happened in the movie so far, but why are you just randomly running out into the woods? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Anyway, but then the Popo comes, and they're inside, and they're like, where's the fuck the dwarf? And then they go to the spot where Esther was, and she's gone. Oh, no. Eventually, we cut out to the woods, and they're right near the frozen pond where, where fucking something horrible happened, years ago, where fucking little Max fell in, and it was, oh, goddamn wine mommy was drunk. Not this time. But then Esther's like, you've ruined everything, Vera Farmiga. I kill you. And so they start falling and down to the ice, and they start beating the shit out of each other. Meanwhile, little Max, she grabs the gun, and she's like, I don't know. Stop moving around. She just shoots it, and it cracks the ice. And both Vera Farmiga and Esther, they fall through, and they're like, they're fighting. And like, Vera Farmiga, she like punches Esther in the boob, and she's like, my boob. And she gets up out of the ice, and Esther's like, wait, mommy, help me, don't let me die, mommy. But behind her back, she has a fucking knife, and Vera Farmiga says, I'm not your fucking mommy. And just fucking kicks her right in the face, and just breaks her fucking neck, and she falls back into the water, into her watery grave, where she dies. And then, Max and Vera Farmiga, they hold each other as, as Esther finally dies. Now, there is an alternate ending. There is an alternate ending, chat, where we see, and I'm glad they didn't go with this one, because it was like, it's kind of dumb. I was like, it's kind of anticlimactic. I like the whole, fighting in the, and plus, I'm not your fucking mother. That's a great line to end on, in my honest opinion. But there's an alternate ending where the Popo gets there and Esther's gone, and Vera Farmiga and Max, they run out into the woods. But then we see like Esther in her room, and she's putting on her makeup and all of her stuff again and everything. And also the little ribbons around her neck and her wrists, there were the marks where they kind of had her straitjacket, and so she got out so many times, but she ripped her own skin off and stuff. So that's part of that. Oh, the scarring. But yeah, she just walks downstairs, and she just presents herself to the Popo, and she's like, hello, my name is Esther. And it's like, all right, and we're all like, Jesus, this crazy dwarf woman. And I guess they arrest her, I suppose. But that's it, Chad. That's the alternate. I don't like the alternate ending. People are saying that now, they might go with the alternate ending if they want to continue this franchise on. Did a prequel sequel. Looks like it did pretty well, reviewed pretty well. I'm not sure how it performed on Paramount Plus. I have no idea. But I don't know. I guess if they want to. But that was not the theatrical ending. That was not the theatrical. I like the theatrical ending more. But yes, Chad, that was my scene by scene breakdown, Chad, to the 2009 horror thriller Orphan, which I would give this is a fun movie. I like it a lot, I would probably give this as a low full price for me. It is a nice, entertaining low full price. You could tell the logic kind of ran out towards the end of the movie, but it's like, what, for the most part, I like it a lot. I have a renewed appreciation for this movie. I like it more than the sequel prequel, which came out recently, chat. So yeah, low full price for me. Hey, what are you running? Chris, why is a person in a horror film running into the woods like every horror film ever? But this one didn't make any sense. Chris rating. That's not my rating. Not bald-headed minion. God damn it. Lisa Hard Hands. Good to see you, Lisa. Oh, Lord. But hey, I hope you enjoyed my review. I hope you liked it. The father's real dumb. He's dumb. He's fucking dumb. You're right. He's dumb and horny. By the way, thank you to everyone. Thank you, Luke the Boss, for the 2 biddies. Thank you, the chat tech, Nick Diaz, for the raid. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Yeah, we're out of budget. When the budget runs out, so does the logic.